Cool. All right, so welcome to General Music Practicum. So we are going to start with our theme. So our theme for our lessons these couple weeks is going to be music makes change. So definitely be thinking about that as we're going through, as we're asking questions and talking about ideas. Definitely keep that in mind when we are talking. All right, so first, let's talk. So, what do you guys know about protests? Anyone want to share their thoughts?
That's the thing that's gonna happen this Wednesday at school because people don't want to pay for parking.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Why don't you talk a little bit about that? Tell me more.
So all the students at Stony Brook are very unhappy because we're all getting charged a parking fee, and even students who don't have cars on campus get charged a parking fee.
Oh, wow. Okay, and they're definitely trying to get out there and, make their voices heard. What about you, Daniel? What do you know about protests?
Well, protests can be very like throughout a lot of people, a big community.
Yeah, definitely. Protests can be with communities standing up, making ideas. All right, and we're gonna move on. So, what kind of protests have you seen, Robert? You touched on this a little bit, but like, have you ever been to a protest? Have you ever participated in a protest? Talk a little bit about that. Anyone want to start?
Yeah, this parking protest has happened several times. So I happened to stop by one of them. I wasn't there very long, but everybody was kind of just there in unison outside of admin, and they were kind of just like voicing their thoughts that we shouldn't have to pay for this and
How were
that
they
it's
sharing
unfair.
their thoughts? Were they chanting? Were they holding signs? Were they doing anything like that?
Mostly chanting and holding signs, and then walking around campus all together in a big group.
Cool. What about you, Daniel? Have you seen any protests? All right, we'll give Daniel a minute to move. But in the meantime, uh, I'm curious to see, have you guys seen any art be used as a form of protest? Have you seen like any paintings, any poems, any stories, songs? Can you think of any ways that art has been used to convey messages of protest? Robert, any thoughts?
Yes.
All right, care to share?
Um, I don't know why this is the first one that came to mind. Was the movie Fight Club. So that was actually a protest, sort of, and the idea was that the main character is kind of in the 90s there was like this thought of like everybody has to look a certain way and everything is like out of a catalog and standard and everybody wants to fit this mold of looking a certain way. The
Okay,
idea
I
of Fight Club, it was like, no, you shouldn't do that, you should do your own thing. um
think
of
we
course the
lost
main
Daniel.
character was
I think we
a
lost
bit oh no.
Let me see what I can do here. I might have to stop my share to bring him back into the Zoom call. One second.
Okay.
I don't think I can see those things while I'm presenting. So let me,
Yeah, why don't you just exit share? Yep.
we'll wait for Daniel to come back.
But anyway, main point being yeah, lots of things in the 90s are protests. A lot of the music and things like that too was very rebellious. Just lost internet.
Yeah, okay. So I think what we'll do,
But
depending on how long his is out, we will keep going to the best of our
okay.
ability and we'll cue him back in when we can. Okay, so let me pick up where we left off. Present full screen. Oh, I I think he's back. There we go.
I don't see him.
I just hit join. He's coming out of the waiting room.
Loading.
Yeah, it's loading. The loading screen of death, as they say.
Well, we're ready for him. How was your day?
It was good. How was your day?
It was eventful.
Oh, that's good. An eventful day is a productive day. All right, I think
Daniel
we
is
have
here.
Daniel back with
Yay.
us. Daniel, are you back? Daniel?
I see a big letter D.
I was gonna say, I don't see Daniel, but I see him on my screen. Are we back? Okay, perfect. We're all connected?
There he is.
There we go.
All right, Daniel, why don't you talk a bit about some protests that you've seen? They can be
Okay, that I've seen.
either in person or like on social media, in the news. Anything of interest pop into mind?
Well, you have all the riots in down streets, mainly from in the city and all that.
Mhm.
You have tax protests.
Yeah.
You have a specific reason, the specific one on that.
Yeah, and have you seen like any art of any kind, like any art that's been made about protests, like a poem or a song or like a painting? Like, does anything come to mind?
Not that I can think of.
All right. And next question. If you guys ruled the world and you could change one thing about the world, what would you change? Anything at all?
Kind kindness.
Kindness? That's a good idea. Tell me a little more about that. What do you think about kindness? Do you mean like mandating kindness or just like encouraging people to be nice? Like where are you going with that?
Well, it gets up to a certain point where it's like you can encourage it, but the people that aren't gonna really learn with kindness, like that are gonna actually use kindness, are the
Mhm.
people that you kind of have to, if you rule the world, which is partly you're being a leader, you need to kind of force them in some respects to do it,
Mhm.
depending on who you're speaking to.
Yeah. What about you, Robert? If you could change one thing about the world, what would you change?
I don't know. I like Daniel's answer.
Okay.
Eagle Scout.
Eagles. I think that was what I said.
Yeah, it is. That's why I
Yeah, I was
copied
gonna
it.
say. Oh,
Oh,
okay.
have
The
you had
copy.
these
Okay, I
types
was
of
gonna say I like that
conversations
answer.
on your
Wait, this sounds
Eagle Board of
familiar.
Review? Did they
Yes,
ask
they
any
that was
questions?
actually a question they asked us.
Oh,
Yep.
that's funny. Okay. All
I
right.
I skipped the question.
So some protests for me when I thought about this that came to mind were the 1964 March on Washington, which was a protest for civil rights. People from all over the country came to Washington, D.C. This is where Martin Luther King gave his famous I Had a Dream speech, fighting for equality. And in 1990, the Capitol Crawl, which was a movement by disabled people where wheelchair users and mobility aid users got out of their wheelchairs and crawled up the steps of the US Capitol building to fight for the passage of the Americans with Disabilities Act.